Today we're going to be talking about the truth about the divine masculine and the divine feminine. I'm going to share with you what they aren't telling you. And we're going to talk about how to heal from twin flames and understand how the masculine and the feminine, from a scientific, spiritual, energetic perspective, have always meant to be, and why we moderners are out of touch, and how we are going to heal and return back to the true understanding of masculine and feminine, bringing our relationships back into balance, giving us happiness, peace, and joy. So stay tuned, because I'm going to go through a list of a few things. I'm going to talk about the twin flame theory, the runner and the chaser, soul contracts, twin flame versus soulmate, yin-yang symbol, the grand ultimate, what it really means. I'll tell you my experiences with the mother, father, deity, who are in fact the inspiration for the yin-yang symbol. They are a real deity that does exist. What the twin flame teachers get completely wrong about the masculine and the feminine, and what masculine and feminine will return to in this new 5D world that we are now entering into. Welcome to the Thunder Wizard YouTube channel. This is the official gathering place for all 5D starseeds and light workers. I would like to encourage you to check out the guided interdimensional meditations that I've been uploading, which includes relationships, extremely powerful meditation. Go to meditations.thunderwizard.com. If you want to see if these meditations are right for you, you can get the prosperity meditation for free. The only thing you need to do is go to thunderwizard.com, subscribe to the interdimensional meditation or above, and you will get the prosperity meditation for free. You can also just go to the shop there, click shop in the menu, and you can get any of those guided meditations in the shop. So, like I said, prosperity is free for those who subscribe, and you can also get it in the shop if you want. Most important thing I need for you to do is to go to the live guided interdimensional meditations. We just had one last night. Every Wednesday and Saturday at 8:30 p.m. It's free. If you can't make the live meditations, then just go to the live tab on my YouTube channel here at Thunder Wizard, and you can watch them. The one we just did yesterday was by far the most powerful yet. We actually became God. It was unbelievable. If you want to support the channel directly, you can go to support.thunderwizard.com and follow the directions. You can also just click the $ button below. Listen, if every single person that watched my videos put down $1 every time they watched a video, I'd never have to do all this business stuff and ask for stuff. So that's appreciated, however. But if you're just here for the first time, welcome. I hope that you'll enjoy what we're going to talk about. The truth about divine masculine and feminine, what they aren't telling you, how to heal from twin flames, and where we are going to return back to the true masculine and feminine relationships. So let's just go ahead and get into it, shall we? So, the twin flame theory of divine masculine and feminine. So, as you can tell by the color of the hairs on my chin here, I've been on this planet for a while. And so I'm here to tell you that twin flame theory is a new idea. Whether it's right or wrong, that's another discussion. But I'm here to tell you that the idea of twin flame did not exist 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and nobody has ever talked about it. It's a brand new thing. So understand that, if you're considerably younger than me and you believe that this twin flame theory thing has been around for a while, it's not. It's very new. So let's talk about it. So the idea of the twin flame is that you have a soul contract with another soul that's here on earth, and you come together, and it's this intense attraction. You feel like you can't live without them. You bond on a very, very deep level. Your identity, you can't tell where you stop and the other person begins. And in the beginning, it's very passionate and intense, and then all of a sudden you find out that this person pushes all of your buttons. and you find that the worst in you comes out and the worst in them comes out. And so you're like this mirror image of the opposites of each other, and the opposites are attracting and all of that. And so the theory is that you have some kind of soul contract with this person, and that by meeting them, they bring out the worst in you so that you can heal from it and move on. And then there's this understanding that there's this unconscious connection where if only we could be conscious about it, everything would come together and everything would work. And so then we get into talks about the divine masculine and feminine in the astral. And so you have this scenario where in the physical realm, the relationship becomes toxic and people split apart, and one of them chases and the other runs away, and then you go into this understanding, but then you can go and work on the relationship in the astral realm, because then the true divine masculine, which is in the astral realm, and the divine feminine can work things out. So there's a lot of people who feel as though, like for instance, in some cases, twin flames will get married to somebody else, have kids, and then the person who still feels as though this is their divine counterpart, they will then go into meditation and go up into the astral realm and seek to connect and heal. They even might believe that they can, through meditation, bring the other person back to them, and then they can restore the unity and heal themselves. And so, and there's variations among these teachings, but I'm sure you're aware of it. That's the basics of this understanding. So that's the twin flame theory of divine masculine and feminine. Now let's talk about the runner and the chaser. So the understanding is that now, there's all kinds of back and forth, and I hear that there's some, variations of this, but this is the basic one that I find, is that the runner is the masculine, and the chaser is the feminine. Right? Do I got that right? So the one who chases is the feminine, and the one who runs is the masculine. And the theory goes that the feminine is conscious. If in this twin flame scenario, that the feminine, the chaser, is conscious, but the runner is unconscious, and so the runner is running from their true healing that can only come by connecting to your twin flame partner. And so the masculine is seen as unconscious and the feminine is seen as conscious. The feminine, I've heard described, is more spiritual. And so it creates the feminine creates a spiritual anchor for the relationship. The masculine is seen as being more dense and physical and attached to the physical realm. So the idea is if only the masculine could get connected to their true divine masculine spiritual sense, where the feminine is up there waiting for this unconscious masculine, that then everything would come together. So this is basically what I've heard as I've been watching this over the years, and I run into people who talk about it. They say, yeah, the divine masculine and feminine. Even students of mine will talk about it. So I've been trained for decades, a very long time. I've been trained in spiritual practices that have to do with energy. So what's important about this is that when it comes to the masculine and the feminine energies, we are talking not about all the nonsense that's going on now about gender and, all of that stuff. That's a whole other thing. I'm not going to get into that. Masculine and feminine energies are a real thing. They are, as time goes on, we will see this as a scientific fact. The energetic properties of these energies are fundamental throughout the universe. And this is where this yin-yang symbol comes from. It comes from thousands of years of spiritual understanding. The idea of Shiva Shakti. So here's something I'm going to let you know. If you study these ancient understandings of the actual energies of yin and yang, masculine and feminine, Shiva, Shakti, you are going to find that the traditional understanding is 100% opposite of this twin flame theory. So before I get into that, just hold on to that. Now, if I've ruffled your feathers, because here's the thing, I've run into, listen, if you want to learn spiritually, you can't be attached. You have to be willing to be wrong, and you have to be willing to, you have to want to know the truth more than you want to be right, and you need to want to know the truth more than you need to be comfortable. Spiritual truths can be very uncomfortable. So people are very attached to this idea. And so when I start talking about the actual understanding of yin and yang, people get all bent out of shape and they want to argue with me. And I understand that. But I'm not talking my opinion. Again, I never teach my opinion. Never. So what I'm going to tell you has nothing to do with my opinion or what I read in a book or what somebody taught me. I know what the masculine and feminine energies are because I trained in spiritual practices where I had to be able to pull these energies in, use them, and physically manifest them. And we're talking about high-level spiritual martial arts where I was working directly with energy. And if you didn't know how to send energy through your arms and your fist and your mind and your intent, you were going to get your ass kicked. So this wasn't about, we're airy-fairy talking about spiritual principles. This was about, in combat, learning how to function. And then from there, we learned how to take it into real life. And we learned how to understand. And it was at that point that I learned very quickly that modern society, and we're talking, 40 years ago, that modern society was completely disconnected. Now, some very old traditions that go way back, which you find with some, would have been, when I was in my 20s, it would have been my grandparents, great-grandparents. They still understood some of how the masculine and the feminine worked. But by the time, I was an adult, that had been completely lost. And now, not only is this understanding completely lost, it has been shifted and it has been completely flipped on its head. And this is why you have such weak men in this world. And this is why you have such damaged and angry and hurt and misunderstood women. I could get into more, but we'll just leave it at that. Now, you may not know that. If you're 30 years, maybe even 40 years or younger, you may not know that. But I'm here to tell you that humans have completely lost their connection and understanding to this. There really is a divine masculine and feminine. It's been completely lost. Now, people are doing their best. But it's just like, when people are starting from scratch, they're going to make mistakes as they go. So the twin flame understanding is human beings doing their best, trying to get their bearings and figure it out. But unfortunately, there's some hints of truth in there, but the majority of it is completely, totally flipped on its head. So before you get all upset and click away from here, because I'm not feeding into your ego and your narcissism and, telling you what you want to hear, your emotional attachments to this, you think a very deep, spiritual subject. I just want to ask you, are you willing to know the truth, and do you want to be happy? Do you want to be fulfilled? Because you can be. Because when you understand the masculine and the feminine, and you learn to embody this and live this out, you will be strong, independent. Because the whole point of the twin flame is, if you look at it, a complete lack of energetic independence. And the whole idea of trying to heal and balancing the masculine and the feminine, the people that are in that are in a great deal of pain. And my observation is that there's lack of self-empowered sustainability. What does that mean? It's when you get to that place where you're okay with yourself. You don't need anybody else. You're not. You would love to interact with other people, but you're okay without other people. You're okay with yourself. You don't need other people to validate you one way or another. So, and there's no the need of the either to push relationships away. Like for instance, here are the two polar opposites of the exact same issue. Some people, they meet somebody and they just become desperately attached and need to be with that person. They fall madly in love, immediately, and they need to be attached. And then there are other people that the moment that you show them any intimacy or any love, they all of a sudden get triggered, and then it's traumatic for them. And they need to get some space and go and figure themselves out. Well, okay, you told me that you loved me, and I needed some time to figure that out. This is the same thing. This is the same dysfunction. Needing to be alone, you can't tolerate loving, intimate feelings, or you can't live without the other person and you have to have them. And if they don't accept you, you're going to be devastated. This is the same lack of self-empowerment. The whole teaching of yin and yang is to have this internally. Focus of what I see in the twin flame is the opposite. So, if you're still here and I haven't bent you completely out of shape, and you want to at least, you can throw away what I believe and what I don't believe. But again, I'm telling you not from a belief perspective, from a spiritual perspective, philosophical perspective, sociological, not even psychological. Talking purely from an energy perspective that I have proven with my energy body. That is what has taught me. And so I'm here to share that with you. That's what these practices are. If you go to thunderwizard.com, and especially if you go to the 90-day challenge, you will find access to yin and yang. When we do the yin-yang hands, that will teach you what the masculine and the feminine is. And then you'll be able to shift that within yourself, gain that power, and be able to put that into your interactions and your relationships. All right, let's keep going. So the runner and the chaser, we talked about that. Soul contracts versus karma. So when I hear people talking about soul contracts, what I hear in that is I have to be with this destructive person because I signed a soul contract before I got here, and therefore I have to work through this, and I have to let this. And people will say this, because I've been talking to people for a long time and counseling people for a long time, and a lot of people come to me with painful, dysfunctional relationships, twin flame relationships, if you will. And when I hear the abuse that they go through and the tremendous pain that they're in, I'll say, so why are you still with them? And they'll say, oh, because I have a soul contract with them and I need to face these things within me. And this other person is triggering these wounds within me so that I will heal. And so they think that being in a dysfunctional relationship is somehow giving them some healing and some perspective. And that is not accurate. So a soul contract is a real thing. Everybody has them. In fact, you have them with every single person in your life. Your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your cousins, aunts and uncles, your next door neighbor, your landlord, your co-workers, and your romantic interests, your best friends. You have a soul contract with everybody. So there's no need to spiritualize that. I will agree with you that dysfunctional, painful relationships sometimes are unavoidable, and they have everything to do with karma. So what'll happen is you'll bump into somebody, you'll meet them. Karma actually, like gravity, brings you together. You have a soul contract, and then what you are ideally supposed to do is to become aware of the pain and to go, okay. And then if you are in a state where you are being abused, you leave. You do not do the thing where you become attached and you can't leave them and you have to fix them, or you allow their abuse to bring up issues that you have to work through. That is nonsense. You can do it if you want, but all that's happening is you're recreating a karmic cycle, and it's creating more karma. And the idea is to get rid of it. So this is where spiritual practice comes in. This is where meditation comes in. Meditation, one of the main purposes of meditation, is to give you the discipline to act consciously when all of your impulses and your emotions are telling you to do something else, to chase after that destructive person, or to run away from true love. That is you operating from your feelings and your impulses and blah. So the idea is that when this happens, you go, okay, and you work on yourself. This is what the 12 steps to 5D are about. So if you take a look on my channel, you've got the videos for the 12 steps to 5D, and I recommend that you look at those because especially steps 4 through 7, that will give you the ability to burn through the karma of the soul contract immediately. It'll give you the ability to know what you did, what your karma is that brought you into that. And then you'll be able to work through it. You'll be able to release your attachment to the other person, and you'll be able to release any of the negativity, and you will have the freedom to choose what you want to do. Do you want to move on, or do you want to stay and work it out? Do you want to modify the relationship so it's not dysfunctional, and you know, what are we supposed to be doing together? You have the choice to do what you want. But if you are driven by your karma on an unconscious level and you're not able to truly understand what the contract is and how you can stop the karma, the negative karma, if you want to be able to do that, then you have to have a spiritual practice. And meditation, among other things, gives you the discipline to act in a conscious way toward what is best for them and best for you. And here's the thing. When you're in one of these twin flame destructive relationships and it's painful, it's killing you, it's destroying you from the inside out. If you are able to operate from a higher frequency, here's what's going to happen. The other person's going to leave. Or you're going to get the strength to walk away with love. The idea of staying in it and destroying yourself, there's nothing spiritual about that. Nothing. So again, I'm telling you this from an energetic perspective. Let's go deeper into what the masculine and feminine really is. So let's see. Twin flame, soul contracts versus karma. We talked about that. Twin flame versus soulmate. So this is something, again, brand new, meaning very recently in human history has there been this distinction. Up until this point, soulmate was all you got. If you met somebody that you were connected with, and it was a soul contract that, then this was your soulmate. And a soulmate is just that. It's somebody that your soul mixes with very well. And as you know, the twin flame is not a soulmate. You guys don't mix well. It's oil and water. And I agree that initially the first interaction is to bring your unresolved karma, which is an imbalance. So let's be clear about that. Karma is an imbalance that's seeking to get balanced. It's not sin. It's none of those things you've heard. You're not pulled down because your karma or your sin is forcing you against your will to be reincarnated. That is pure nonsense. What has happened is a lot of times the souls, before they incarnate, will meet in the spiritual realm. And they'll go, hey, it's you. Hey, it's you. You've known each other for billions of lifetimes. And you're like, all right, so last time we got together, remember you did that, and that really hurt me, and that was really destructive, and you killed me. It could be that big. The souls are like, yeah, I remember that. The video game, I did that. And then it's like, okay, so we got to balance that. So in this life, here's what's going to happen. Why don't we do this? And then the soul contract is you guys decide how you're going to meet, with the intention of hopefully being able to balance the karma as quickly as possible so that you can either have a good connection or you can then balance it and move on. And I've found this a lot of times, like, I was married for, she was my ex-wife. I was with her for 10 years. We weren't married that whole time, but I was with her for 10 years. And what happened is that my energy shifted up. I did some more work on myself, and I came to some conclusions. My energy shifted up, and then she destroyed the relationship. And ironically, I was prepared to go deeper into it and commit to it. But what had happened is our karma had been balanced. We were done. This happens all the time. So that's all that karma is, and that's all these twin flame relationships are. And the idea is to balance it as quickly as possible, and to have the discipline to be able to act contrary to your unconscious, dysfunctional impulses and emotions. Okay? So a soulmate is not somebody that's going to do that, which is why you want a soulmate. You hear people talking about twin flames, and they make themselves sound superior, to those just normal humans that do the soulmate thing. No, I'm a starseed and I do, and so there's a lot of this condescension when I hear people talk about soulmate versus that. Now, I've had a soulmate. I don't know how many soulmates a person gets in one life, but I've had one. And I can tell you there is nothing like it. It is the most beautiful, blissful, amazing experience you could ever have. And if people want to say, you can have a soulmate as a friend, that is a new idea. It's a new understanding, and it diminishes and devalues the idea of a soulmate. Again, I'm talking from experience. If you would talk to me 20 years ago, I might have agreed with you, but I've had the experience and I know the difference. And I've had twin flames, so it's not like I don't know what that is. I know what that is too. I know what both of them are. And I'm here to tell you that soulmate is real, and it is not something to be devalued. Oh yeah, soulmate is different. Twin flame, oh yeah, but anybody can be your soulmate. That's a temporary, you've got it completely backwards. Twin flame is meant to be temporary. And the pain is not meant to be long. If it goes for a long period of time, it means you didn't wake up. The soulmate is somebody that comes to you and helps you be the best person you can be, that meets your need to be seen and loved. You see them and love them. They see you on a higher level, and you rise to meet it. Your connection grows deeper and deeper and deeper until your unconscious merges together. And this is why, marriage, ideally, you become one soul. That's a very real thing. And it's not the codependent thing of, I don't know where I stop and you begin. It's you get deeper and more connected to your true identity with your soulmate. So I need to just talk about that. People who badmouth soulmates have never had one. You may think you have. If you think a twin flame is more intense and more deep than a soulmate, you haven't had a soulmate. All right, let's move on. The yin-yang symbol, the grand ultimate. Let's take a look at that. So this is a really interesting yin-yang symbol. And the yin-yang symbol, we call it yin-yang. And again, people mix that up too. Yin is feminine, yang is masculine. And I've seen women in dating sites write, I'm looking for the yin to my yang. And I'll go, but you're a woman, so you're really looking for the yang to your yin. Nobody likes to be corrected. So that doesn't usually get a good response when I do that. But yin is feminine and yang is masculine. And so let's take a look at the symbol here. So the left side, this is the way it should be. If you see it the other way around where, maybe I do have it backwards. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So the dark side is the feminine with a white spot in the center there. So what it means is that the center of the feminine is, on first level, is masculine. You look at the masculine, it's light, white colored, and in the middle, on the left side in this picture. And in the middle is the darkness, which is supposed to be the feminine. So in a third dimensional representation, which is what that is, the feminine is dark. The feminine is earthly. and the center of the feminine is the masculine. So the source of the feminine is the masculine, the light. The source of the darkness is the light. And in the masculine, again, this is a third dimensional representation. It's very important you understand that. I'm going to explain what the actual representation is outside of the third dimension. So the third dimension is like a mirror. So we're seeing a mirror of what this really is. I didn't know that. Again, it isn't an idea. I found it out because I have seen and been introduced to and communicated, and I communicate with them all the time. The mother, father, masculine, feminine. It's a deity. It's not just a principle. So what you're looking at here is the representation of a deity, the mother, father deity. So the masculine is white, which represents light, of course, and then the center of the masculine is feminine. Now that's in the third dimension. So let's talk about what that means. In this third dimension, what it means is what it sounds like. And again, you're going to see this is opposite from the twin flame theory. Completely opposite. Now, why is that important? So if the twin flame theory is opposite from how energy, the masculine and feminine energies, which are in everything, if that's opposite, it means that they are completely, totally out of touch with it. And it means that the masculine and feminine are completely out of balance. So to come to the conclusion that the masculine is grounded in the dense earth and that the feminine is in the spiritual and is awakened, this is the exact opposite. And it means that if people are sharing their actual experience, so they're not making it up, they're not lying. The twin flame theory came out of nowhere recently. Why? Because the masculine and the feminine are completely out of balance in our now modern world. And so people's experience of the masculine and feminine are going to be the complete opposite. And twin flame is very destructive. And, we all know that. I mean, nobody doesn't think that twin flame isn't dysfunctional, that isn't codependent. They spiritualize it and they think by knowing it's codependent that somehow I'm spiritual and I'm above it all. It's incredibly destructive and codependent. It's very dysfunctional. Nobody enjoys the twin flame relationship unless there are these twin flame teachers that claim to have balanced it, which really means that they've learned how to get over, if they're telling the truth and they're not stuck in this dysfunctional thing, it means that they've learned to balance within themselves, and now they're connected and they're operating on a soulmate level instead of dysfunctional twin flame, let's destroy each other level. All right, so I forgot what I was saying here. So so the yin-yang symbol, the grand ultimate. So the yin-yang symbol is called the grand ultimate. And that's what Tai Chi means. The word Tai Chi means grand ultimate. In fact, Tai Chi Chuan doesn't mean blissful, soft, wonderful, peaceful. That's what most people think Tai Chi is, because that's what it's become. It was originally an extremely powerful, deadly martial art having to do with energy. And Tai Chi Chuan meant grand ultimate fist. And there's stories about that. One guy, one of the early Tai Chi masters, in China, what they would do if somebody wanted to test themselves, they would go and say, I'd like a lesson. And what that meant is, I want to fight you to see, which one of us is better. And so they go, oh, please come into my studio, and, it'd be a gentleman's brawl. And so what ended up happening is, this Kung Fu master went up against the Tai Chi guy, and their fists met, right? And what ended up happening is the Tai Chi guy, his energy was so powerful that the other guy's fist shattered. All the bones shattered in his fist, and he went, Tai Chi Chuan, grand ultimate fist. So the idea is that the yin-yang is the grand ultimate of the energies, the grand ultimate worthy of worship. Now let me share with you my experience. I've known how masculine and feminine works based on doing high-level internal martial arts. And again, it's a science. It's not a philosophy. And again, it's the opposite of what you would think. The true nature of the feminine is extremely powerful and destructive. The true nature of the masculine is very calm and friendly. Now, that's not what you see, is it? It's because, again, you have to look beyond the veneer of things. The truth of the matter is that the feminine, when it is in balance, will control the world. The masculine will believe that it's controlling the world. But you see this in chess. What is the most powerful piece on the chessboard? It's not the king. He's got the least amount of power. The being that has the most power on that chessboard is the queen. Where does the queen sit? Sits on his left side, his receptive side. It means that she's sitting there empowering his energy. So while he stands there and he makes all the proclamations and it looks like he has all the power. But the truth is she has all the power. But she makes him think he has all the power. I dated a girl from the South when I was in college. She was from Arkansas. And she would do things, anyway, I won't get into the things that she would do, but she would do things trying to get me to do something. So if she wanted me to do something for her, she would do these little things that were meant to provoke me into doing that. Now, I'm pretty savvy sometimes. So I can see when these things are coming. And so I saw her doing something and I called her out on it. I said, "What are you doing that for? I know what you're trying to do." And I said, "Why do you do that?" And she says, "Well, my mama always taught me, if you want a man to do something, you make him think it's his idea." That's the feminine. The man's ego, and think about it in this sexual reality, right? The man's ego, what happens to it? It gets deflated. All you have to do is give him the feeling that there's something about him that is unattractive, unmasculine. What'll happen? He'll get deflated instantly. We talk about stroking people's ego. So the feminine knows how to do that. Now, if that offends you, guess what? Your feminine is weak. If that offends you, it means that your feminine is disempowered. Here's what happens when the feminine is weak. They want to help the man be the best they can be. But because they're weak and or they have a weak man, they will begin attacking, criticizing, schooling, condescending. That is the worst thing you can do to a man. You know what your problem is? You know what you need to do? You know, if you did this, why don't you make more money? You know what your problem is? That'll destroy a man. And not only that, a woman's look. You know, men's egos are so fragile that, if a woman just does, that's all it takes. She does that, he's dead. She's destroyed him. He'll never recover from that. So what do women do? They appeal to the man's ego, make him think that he's something, and you can get a man to do whatever you want. Now, the ultimate feminine is so empowered within herself that what she sees in the man is his greatest achievement, his highest potential. And she will be turned on by that. She will be inspired by his highest potential. And instead of telling him what you need to do is, she will begin to see him that way. And then when he looks into her eyes, she won't have to say a word. He will see a vision of himself that will inspire him to such a degree. he will then go out and become that. This is why, again, in times past, what would happen though? The woman would sit on the front porch, with her mint julep, and the men would be around, the corner on their knees. I love you, you're the most. And she would, but that's because she represented that femininity that was so prized. He knows the reason why the men are lined up around the corner while she's just sitting her, sipping her mint julep, is because they know that she will bring out in him his best, which will make him be more successful than anybody else. And so he says, you inspire me so much, I would bring down the moon for you. Listen, I got to tell you something about men. I've been here more times than I can count. I've been where I've met a woman and, sparks start to fly, and I'm immediately ready to give her everything. I'll give her my entire soul. I will make her the most loved, worshipped goddess in existence. But the moment that she plays games with me and devalues my masculinity, that ends everything. And I never see her again the same way. So the idea of the feminine is to bring out in the man his ability to see the best in himself. And when he looks in her eyes and sees in her that she is seeing him on this higher level, and all she has to do is start intending where she wants him to go, and he will go there. And he will think it's his idea, and he will do it because the look in her eye, when he achieves his spirituality, his success, whatever the hell it is, when he achieves that and he sees the look in her eyes, he will live for that. He will die for that. You can hear, I'm not describing modern relationships at all, am I? It's because we've lost it. So the masculine brings strength, right? Again, think of the sexual. What do you think of? Firm. He brings strength. The woman brings power. Now, that power needs to be directed. If that power is not directed, it destroys. This is why we're losing this now. I mean, when I was a kid, we read fairy tales all the time, but we're losing that. And it's sad that we're losing it. And Chinese martial arts movies still do this. So in fairy tales and in Chinese martial arts movies, who's the bad guy? It's never a man. It's a woman. The last time we saw it in modern Western society was in The Wizard of Oz. Who was the villain? It was the Wicked Witch of the West. It wasn't the evil man. Wasn't even the wizard. The wizard wasn't evil at all. When you got past his false thing, he was just this tiny little, harmless little guy. But the Wicked Witch of the West, she was bad news. And what killed her? Water. What is water? Emotions. So when the feminine becomes so disempowered that she's disconnected from her emotions, she becomes destructive. Now, I can tell you this. Now, as a martial artist, I learned energy martial arts. Now, if I wanted to take somebody out, I'm not going to use the masculine. I'm use the feminine. A feminine strike will drop you faster than you never see it coming. So the feminine knows how to take energy away from you, and it is very unpredictable. So the feminine power by itself is a nuclear bomb. But if you add the strength of the masculine, then that becomes the nurturing, empowering energy. And so this is why you need both. Now, again, I'm still talking on the third dimensional level. We haven't shifted up to the fifth dimensional level because I saw the truth behind that and I understood after communicating with these beings why the center of the masculine is dark and the center of the feminine is light. So we can get into that a little bit later. All right, I got off onto a tangent. Let's keep going. So the mother, father deity in the yin-yang symbol. All right, so now we can get into it. All right, so you look at the third dimensional is the masculine is light and the feminine is dark. Again, this is the opposite of the twin flame theory that says that the feminine is spiritual and awakened, and that the masculine is lower density, trapped on earth, and is unconscious. The opposite is the truth. If that is the experience people have, it means that men and women now are completely, totally out of balance. And they are showing the worst possible experiences of themselves. I will agree that men are incredibly weak now, and that women are incredibly out of balance, very destructive. And again, we could go into, well, this is done by, this is orchestrated by the powers that be in order to make society incapable of functioning. And this is why traditional values are coming back. You know, I'll give you another example of this. You know, there's this whole thing called trad wife, which used to just mean wife. But now there's a trad wife, meaning a traditional wife. And there was this woman, this newly converted trad wife, and she's all happy with her marriage. And she said, I was trying to get my husband to prove to me that he loved me. And so I needed to know that he was always there for me, and did he really love me? And was he really committed? And I was constantly trying to get him to prove to me how committed he was, and the relationship was getting strained. And then she said, then instead of trying to get him to prove to me that he was committed to me, she said, I turned everything around and I started showing him that I was committed to him. And she started doing all the traditional things. She started cleaning the house. She started cooking all the food. She started giving him back rubs. And when he came home to, set him down and feed him and treat him like the king. And she said, everything changed. She said, all of a sudden when I did that, I felt such love coming from him, and he's always there for me. And she blew. All I had to do was commit to him instead of trying to force him to prove that he was committed to me. And all she's talking about is that she slipped into the role of the feminine. Now, I'm not saying that women need to be housewives to be feminine. It's just the most obvious example. And then he became the provider. He became the strength. I've been working with clients for a long time with relationships, and I can tell you, here's what are the two most common complaints. So the most common complaint of the man is, I wish she would stop nagging me. I wish she would stop criticizing me. Now you see where that's coming from, because what the man wants is to be inspired. So what's happening is that the feminine is trying to do her job, but she's disempowered. And so instead of intending and giving him the feeling that, giving him strength, making him, quote, rise, again, it's the sexual scenario all over again. Instead of giving him that feeling where he rises to, and he sees in her what an amazing person he is, then he becomes strong and firm in his purpose, right? Then he becomes this source of reliable strength. So what the man says, his biggest complaint is, I wish she would stop criticizing me. Every time she comes to him and tells him what's wrong, what he needs to do, she is chopping him down. She's deflating him. And I'll tell you something, men won't put up with it. They will put up with it until they finally can't tolerate it anymore. And then either one of two things will happen. Either they will leave or they will cheat. Now, here's the interesting thing. Now, again, we're talking generally speaking. Men cheat on their wives not because they're leaving. Men cheat on their wives because they are trying to stay. So they go and find solace in another woman who will make them feel powerful, make them feel seen, make them feel loved, make them feel confident. Then they take that energy and then they come back and then they do their job, and then of course the woman will chop him down and he'll lose that. He'll go back to his mistress. Women, when women cheat, they're doing it to leave. It's called monkey branching. You know, monkeys swing from one branch to another. What it means is that for whatever reason, she's unhappy in the relationship, and so she's going to find a man. When she finds him, she'll start cheating with him with the intention of then monkey branching. She's not going to leave the relationship until she has somebody. Again, not all women will do this, but if a woman cheats, almost always that's the reason why. And so the man isn't being strong. So her main complaint is, I wish I could just depend on him. What is that? Firm. What does it look like? Strength. She wants to be able to depend on him. She needs his strength. He needs, so he can be there. He's the provider. He brings direction to the relationship. You know, women will say, I just want him to take control. My experience is that a lot of times women will do both. They'll come in and tell you what to do and how to do things, and then they'll back up and they'll say, why don't you take control? And I'm like, well, you never gave me a chance to come in and take control. Because she's not looking to his vision. So the feminine can't come with a vision of the relationship and then expect the man to take control. It won't work like that. If she has an idea of where the relationship should go, the thing she does is she empowers him so that he becomes filled with that vision, and it becomes his vision, and then he goes and creates it. Now I'm going to share with you a story. So this is a story, a mythological story in Hinduism about Shiva and Shakti. Shiva and Parvati. So this will let you know that what the twin flame theory is telling is completely 100% opposite of the truth. Which is that the feminine is in the spiritual and she's awakened, and the masculine is stuck in the physical and he's unawakened. The truth is the opposite. And so here's the story. So Shiva, you know, the god of pure consciousness, the highest god in the Hindu pantheon, he spends all of his time meditating on top of Mount Kailash, the most spiritually powerful, and I can tell you this from meditative experience, the most spiritually powerful mountain on planet Earth. This is the hugest portal we have on planet Earth is Mount Kailash. And so he sits on the top of that mountain and he meditates, and in that he seeks to connect with everything, everybody. He becomes everything and everybody, and his bliss is to become one with all conscious beings. That's all he cares about. That's why you see him as, you know, he's got matted hair and a beard and he's just wearing a loincloth and he doesn't have anything. It means that the only thing he cares about is spiritual. He doesn't care about his physical body. None of that matters. The only thing he cares about is spirituality. And he's also the ultimate representation of masculinity. It represents the man's integrity. If a man doesn't have integrity, he's not a man. So his bliss is in meditating and giving bliss to all conscious beings and help lifting the consciousness of all beings in the multiverse. So Parvati, she is the earth. She is manifested physical reality on earth. One of her names is Maya, which means illusion. Now, she knows that the earth is an illusion, and she knows that she's creating this illusion. But she also knows that it needs spiritual power for it to have true manifested reality. So the feminine yearns for the masculine, yearns for it. Earth yearns for heavenly energy. And so did you know before the lightning strikes that the earth, so lightning will not strike the earth until the earth sends out an invisible energetic feeler. And that energetic feeler rises up into the cloud, which then stimulates. So if you've ever been next to a lightning strike, and I have, what you will hear is a click and then a bang. The click is the energy rising from the earth, separating, creating a space, right? Talking again, sexuality. Creating a space, asking for the masculine, and then the masculine comes in and sends all that energy, the lightning. So this is the earth and Shiva. This is the feminine and the masculine. So Parvati, she lives with her father in, I don't know where, I forget where that is, but she lives with her father and she dreams. She dreams of Shiva. Every night she goes to sleep and dreams, and she sees Shiva meditating, and she falls madly in love with him because he's so spiritual. His spirituality is what she yearns for, that lightning energy. She yearns for that. It's driving her crazy. She can't live without him. So all day she yearns for him. At night she dreams of him. So she knows where he is. She knows that he's up meditating on top of Mount Kailash. So she goes to him. She climbs the mountain and goes to him, tries to talk to him. He's lost. He's deep in meditation, isn't connected to the physical realm at all, the exact opposite of the twin flame that says that the masculine is lost in the physical and the feminine is in the spiritual. Complete opposite of that. He is not connected to the physical realm at all. He's lost in the bliss of consciousness. And so she then tries to meditate with him. So she sits next to him and meditates with him for long periods of time. And that doesn't wake him up. Even that, she can't reach him. He's so deep in his meditation, she can't reach him. So out of desperation, she gets I forget the name of the Hindu deity, but it's the Vedic deity, the equal of the Western Cupid, right? Hits you with an arrow and you fall in love. So it's the equivalent of that. So she calls on him. She says, I love him. I have to, can you please wake him up so that I can tell him how much I love him and that we can be together. I know we're meant to be together. So he does whatever he does. And sure enough, Shiva starts getting awakened with lust, and his loins are waking him up, and he wakes up and he's now out of his meditation and he's furious. He's absolutely furious. Who dares wake me out of my meditation with this lustful physical desire? And he sees the God of love, and he sends out, he opens up his third eye, and he just vaporizes the God of love's head right off. Boom. Now there's this headless body on the ground. Parvati screams in terror, and she goes to the God of love, and she's mourning because she feels so bad he was killed because of her. So she goes to him and she says, Lord Shiva, please forgive me. Please bring him back to life. It's not his fault. I brought him here. And I wanted to be with you so bad, and it was my selfishness, and I'm so sorry I took you out of your meditative state. And she says, please bring him back to life. He didn't deserve it. And she's crying. She feels so bad for him. There's so much empathy and pity for this poor God that just came and did request. And what inflames his love for her is that he sees in her love for other beings. And he sees in her how much she cares, and the tears that are coming out, it breaks his heart, and he falls madly in love with her. And it's because of her compassion for others that wakes him up, not the lust. It's her compassion that wakes him up, and that then makes him want to be in the physical with her, and then he allows himself to be physically stimulated, and then they come together and they make love, and their love making creates the dance of life. Exact opposite of the twin flame, because masculine and feminine are completely, totally dysfunctional and out of touch. All right, let's keep going. So I did talk with the mother-father deity, and what I found was opposite of this. And this is how I know this is a mirror image in the third dimension. So again, in the third dimension, the masculine is light, like in Shiva Shakti, he's up in the meditative state. And the yin is dark and it is earthly. That is a third dimensional understanding. When I was brought into, and bear in mind that in the middle of each is the opposite. In the middle of the masculine is the feminine, the dark, and the middle of the feminine is light, the masculine. So when I was working with these light beings, which I've been working with, and one day a being said, somebody wants to meet you. I said, oh, great. So I went off astrally, and I was brought to this place. And I've taken you guys in our meditations, I've taken you to this place a few times, where it looks like a big stage. And on one half is pure light, pure white light, and the other half is darkness. Now, if I went on this picture, the light would have been the masculine and the dark would have been the feminine. But the opposite happened. The light side, the mother goddess came out. She was pure light. But she picked me up and she held me and she kissed me and, oh, my beautiful baby, I love you so much. You're my favorite, my beautiful boy. And, just fills me with a lot of emotion. She just overwhelmed me with love. The love of a mother. There's nothing like the love of a mother. By the way, women, I'm sorry to tell you this, the man is looking for mom. And if you can't meet him on that level and mother him when he needs it, he's not going to want to be with you. Sorry, you don't have to like it, but that's just the way it is. The man is always looking for mom. And so, she's loving me and taking care of me, and I'm kind of confused because she's pure light, which is the opposite of this, which is she's supposed to be pure darkness. She's pure light. And I came to find out that she is the starlight in all of the multiverse, that all stars are feminine. Not masculine, but feminine. We've been taught, even in modern, Hindu spirituality, we've been taught that the sun is masculine. But if we go back in time, our shamanic ancestors knew, because our Norse ancestors worshipped the sun as a goddess, Sunna, a goddess, not a god, a goddess. And that's because at the center of the sun, there is nuclear fusion. There's this emptiness, intense gravity that crushes, I think is it helium? Anyway, I don't know. I forget what molecule it is, but it crushes that, and with nuclear fusion, crushes that molecule, which then explodes in nuclear fusion and creates the light. The light comes from the emptiness of the feminine. And the center of the sun is feminine. That's why I keep calling her our mother, because that's what she is. The rays that come out of the sun are masculine. The sun is feminine. The rays of the sun are masculine. Did I say that right? Feminine inside, masculine outside. The moon is the opposite. We think the moon is feminine. Look, even in this picture, they put the moon there in the center of the feminine. It's a complete misunderstanding of that. That's not what that means. The moon is not feminine. The moon is masculine. We go back to the shamanic understanding. The Norse knew that. His name was Mani, the moon. It means the mind. But the rays of the moon are feminine. Got it? So within masculine and feminine, there's this constant interplay. So what I saw on the higher dimensional level is that at the center of the masculine is darkness. That is the source. Masculine, outside of the third dimension, is dark, strength, power. And outside of the third dimension, the center of the feminine is pure light. So now I understand, and now maybe you understand what this symbol means. Most people, almost nobody knows what it means. I didn't. I knew what it meant in the third dimension, but I didn't know what it meant ultimately. So the masculine went to the dark energy, and the dark energy was filled with all of these like little gold sparkles of just incredibly powerful. But he didn't have any form. He was formless. He was pure energy. And he was pure power. But he was incredibly gentle. Now, I was a little intimidated because you're in that much power. I mean, you're with mom and she just loves you, and you're not intimidated. Mom just makes you feel good. You can be whoever you are, and she loves you and kisses your boo-boos. Dad's a little different. But Dad was very gentle. And but of course he gives direction. He gives advice. He tells you the truth about yourself. And of course, he told me a lot of good things about me, so he tells you the truth. He has integrity. He's more interested in you knowing the truth than in making you feel good. He is interested in you feeling good, but he wants you to know the truth more than anything else. And then he wants to give you direction. So the feminine without direction is pure nuclear energy. The center of the sun is nuclear fusion. So this is why in the fairy tales, it's the Wicked Witch of the West. It talks about this nuclear power that has no direction. And it's like a live wire. It's just going in all directions. And all it does is cause fires and destruction everywhere it goes. This is what happens to the feminine when she doesn't have the guidance, the strength of the masculine, which is why her first complaint is, I just want to find a man I can depend on, because if she doesn't, she's all over the place. Now, in some cases, that's good. I'm gonna age myself here, but when I was a kid, we had phones on the walls. The phone was on the wall, and there was a long cord on it, and the cord was all stretched out in the kitchen. Why? Because Mom would be on the phone, holding the phone to her, and she'd be all over the kitchen, and she'd be cooking, and she'd be, burping the baby, and she would be, feeding the dog, and she'd be doing all kinds of things while she's talking on the phone. And so, in the right setting, that being in a bunch of different places at once, the feminine, if it has the enclosure of the home, which is, the man's out there working and he's providing for the stability so that she can be herself. Without that, she's all over the place. And again, I'm talking about not a person, I'm talking about the energy of the feminine. That's why if I wanted to harm somebody physically in a fight, I'm going to use the feminine. And a man, if you just touch the man with the destructive feminine, he won't. I've done this. I just barely tapped guys, and they run away. And then when they see me coming, they just get the hell away from me. Twice my size. That's the power of the feminine. So, okay, so what more can we talk about when it comes to this? So, what the twin flame teachers get completely wrong, I've already pretty much talked about that. The idea of the chaser and the runner, it's the opposite. It means everything's out of balance. Remember what I said earlier, that the woman sits there and she's drinking her mint julep while all of, back in the 1800s, where all of the guys are, they're chasing after her. That's what's supposed to happen. The man is supposed to chase the woman, not the other way around. So in the twin flame, the woman is the runner. Now let's get real about this. What we're talking about here. And then what does she do? She then spiritualizes him. So he doesn't want her. He's come and they've twin flamed, and he took, maybe sexualized her, took what he wanted from her, and he's gone. And now he's off with somebody else. Now he's married. Now he has kids. And so she's sitting there in her loneliness talking about, I'm the chaser and I chase after this man and he doesn't want me, but in the spiritual we're meant to be together, but because he's unawake, he's unconscious, he doesn't know that I'm his true love, and if he were to wake up he would see that. Now, does that sound like sound spiritual teaching, or does that sound like a severely untreated codependent in her denial? Because I'm here to tell you that exact scenario happens with men. It's not about masculine and feminine, it's about codependent dysfunction. The need to have somebody love you, and if they don't, you don't have any self. So you have to go into meditation and spiritualize it. And then you have to, and again, the codependent will spiritualize it. They will condescend by saying, they're unawake. I'm awake. I'm spiritual. And if he was spiritual with me, and you're just condescending. But the truth is that happens with men. In fact, I'm here to tell you, and again, I've been counseling women for, decades now. So I'm here to tell you that I've seen women multiple times. They will do that very same thing to a man. They will find a man who opens himself up. I've done this. Open themselves up, give their intimacy, their love, and the woman, because she's codependent and dysfunctional, can't tolerate actually being seen and loved. And so what does she do? She makes up something in her head. In fact, there have been times, men will say, I'm really interested in you, I'm attracted to you, and then they get triggered, and then they have to go, they're traumatized because somebody showed love to them. And they'll talk about, I had to take some time and work on myself because of what you said. And, the guy's like, what did I say? I just told you I'm attracted to you. I like you. I want to be with you. That's all he said. So then what will happen is then they'll be in a relationship that works. And then it'll start to get too intimate, meaning the intimacy, the emotional intimacy, truly being, what I mean by intimate is being seen, being loved for who you are. And then what happens is they get so triggered, they become frightened because of their dysfunctional childhood or whatever. And then what ends up happening is that they start finding something wrong with him, and before you know it, this guy is evil, he's wrong, he did this to me, he didn't return my phone call, he didn't do this, he looked at me the wrong way. They'll come up with some excuse and demonize him, and then they'll block him and kick him out. And I watch this, because 2 weeks earlier he was the best thing that ever happened, and the only thing that happened is that, didn't return a phone call and at the right time or something like that. Or she just got bent out of shape and decided she didn't like him. But then these same women who will do that to a man, and it's clear to me what's happening is that they can't tolerate real love and intimacy. They will then act as though that never happened. Then they'll fall for some dysfunctional, destructive, narcissistic guy, and then they will chase after them, and then they will identify themselves as the runner. I mean, the chaser. I'm the one that, and I'm there going, but you just did that to the other guy. Don't you remember? Oh no, that's different. He was an asshole. And so I'm here to tell you that it doesn't matter what sex you are. The runner and the chaser has nothing to do with masculine and feminine. It has everything to do with narcissism and codependent dysfunction. And it means that we live in a world where narcissism and codependence have become the norm, and now we spiritualize it, and and again, like the hypocrisy that I've heard. Guys aren't into twin flames unless they're just total simps, unless they've been so emasculated. They'll get into the twin flame thing, and of course they will identify with all of that nonsense. But this is what I see. The majority of it is women whose femininity is all bent out of shape and dysfunctional. And they will do the very same thing to men that they claim men are doing to them. I mean, I could list you so many examples. And again, as a counselor, I get to see over time. And of course, I've been on the other end of that. I've been that guy. I've been both of those guys. So let's stop screwing around and pretending, let's stop spiritualizing our dysfunction, please. All right, so what the twin flame teachers get completely wrong. What masculine and feminine will return to in 5D? So let's get to some positive. So we are shifting forward, and we will get back to this. This, I experience healthy masculine and feminine in the light being realm. Light beings function that way. Masculine light beings, if they're very powerful, they're kind of challenging to be around, but they create the most spiritual transformation. This is me, by the way. This is why I'm a masculine person. I identify with the masculine. I am masculine. And I tell you the truth whether you want to hear it or not. I don't need for you to like me. I want you to like me. Trust me. I want you to like me. I want to be liked. You've seen me. I have an ego. If people are mean to me, it hurts my feelings. I want to be liked, but I want you to grow more than I want you to like me. If I wanted to be liked, I could be a millionaire. I would know exactly how to create a cult. I know exactly what to do. I know exactly what to say. The universe wouldn't allow it. The universe would snuff me out of existence if I did it, but I know how to do it. So I'm not here because I'm trying to get you to like me. I'm here because I want to help. I want to serve. I want to heal. I want to teach. So I tell you the truth even when you don't want to hear it. I can tell, usually within a few words, what's going on. Now, as a teacher, I don't have an agenda. As a human being, and I meet people on a human level, I get agendas and I get confused like everybody else. But as a teacher, I can tell immediately where you're coming from, and I can tell, where you're out of, where your thinking is wrong, and I'll usually just come right in and tell you. You might not like it. Sorry. That's the masculine. So when I'm interacting with these very powerful beings, that's kind of what happens is they'll just come and they'll make a proclamation and tell me a truth, and boom, I'll get hit with this power, and I'll have to adjust. I'll have to shift up to that much higher frequency. Feminine light beings are totally different. So let me give you an example. Let's say that the light beings have seen or determined or whatever that I, Mahadeva, I am going to be the sole initiator of the fifth dimension to the world, that I am going to bring the world single-handedly into the fifth dimension. Now, if a masculine deity or light being is coming to give me that information, he's just going to blurt it out. He's going to say, I'm here to give you a proclamation. I am now giving you the title of the initiator to the fifth dimension, and boom, I'll get hit with this powerful energy, and it'll transform me, and I'll have to, spend a few days trying to get my ego in check to, rise up to that unbelievable, grandiose thing. Right? That's how the masculine would do it. Feminine deity is going to do something altogether different. She's going to show up and she's going to be coquettish and happy and sweet and flirtatious. And she's going to say, can I ask you a question? I'm going to say, of course. Ask me whatever question you want, because she's appealing to me, making me feel good. Yeah, ask me whatever you want. How would you feel if you were single-handedly responsible for bringing the fifth dimension to Earth and you had that ability? How would you feel if that were the truth? And I would go, well, let me think about it. Well, that would be awesome. That would be amazing. I would love that. And she'll go, well, good, because you are. Totally, you get into the same thing, but, the feminine comes around it and appeals to the ego and makes you feel good and eases you into it. Makes, again, what we're talking about. Masculine comes in, boom. Here's the truth. So those are extremes, but that's where we're heading. My experience with the light beings is that there is no dysfunction in terms of masculine and feminine energy. They are very comfortable with it. And of course there are individuals and there's, extremes and all of that, but the masculine and feminine is very balanced up there. And so we're going to be heading towards that again. We're going to be heading towards a world where there is clear masculine and feminine energies. There's no more confusion. And again, I'm not talking about gender or sexuality. That's a whole other bag of stuff. But my experience with the light beings is that masculine and feminine is very balanced and knows who does what and what the roles are. And it's beautiful. It's amazing. It's wonderful. Nothing like it. Nothing like, I can tell you, when feminine light beings come to me, there's nothing in the world like it. They can reach me in places and help me feel empowered and good about myself. I don't experience that on planet Earth anymore. The feminine is completely out of whack. And the same is true with the masculine. Masculine is completely out of whack because it's overbearing, it's insecure. By the way, this whole Sigma male thing is nonsense. There's no, this Sigma male. And you notice that, if you try making videos about being an alpha male, nobody will watch it. Why? Because nobody identifies as an alpha male. And an alpha male doesn't need to go looking for what it's like to be an alpha male. But Sigma males, the Sigma life, there's a channel called the Sigma life, why you are a Sigma male. And if you listen to the description of what they call a Sigma male, what you're talking about is a disempowered man who's angry, who's secretive, who's deceptive, who's a simp, who's disempowered, violent, aggressive. This is the masculine when it's disempowered. All right, so let's see. Have I gotten through all of this stuff? Yeah, we have. So there you go. Anyway, more than likely I pissed some people off, but whatever. I don't care anymore. Like it or don't like it. If you do like it, then I encourage you, especially if you want to know what I'm talking about, know what these energies are like, I encourage you to go to the Guided Interdimensional Meditations, meditations.thunderwizard.com. The Prosperity Meditation is free for everybody who subscribes at the thunderwizard.com interdimensional meditation level or above. And you can get my books at michaelwilliamdenny.com. If you want to get all of the meditations in one package and have the files, I will give you the files so you can put them on your computer instead of having to stream them. You can go to meditations.thunderwizard.com. And if you want to get them individually, go to the shop at thunderwizard.com and you can get all kinds of things, including these guided meditations. And please show up every Wednesday and Saturday at 8:30 p.m. for the free live guided interdimensional meditation. And if you can't make the live stream, you can go to the live tab and see it. If you didn't do the most recent meditation we did on Saturday, go do it. Most powerful one yet. I'm still recovering from it. All right, that's it, my friends. I love you all. Thank you so much. Please be very good to yourselves. And that's it. Until next time, please take care. And if you want to, we'll keep talking about the divine masculine and the feminine. That's it. Talk to you next time.